So as she said, I'm Kim Sorgius. I blog at notconsume.com, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that as we get into this whole sales funnel thing. All right. I started blogging in January of 2012, and so that was just a couple of years ago. My goal was probably a lot like your goal, and that was I needed money bad. My husband left. I had 4 small kids, and I did have a degree, but I really couldn't go back to work and use it because I was going to have to put all of my kids in daycare, and I couldn't afford that on the salary that I was going to make as a school teacher, which was what I had gone to school for. So I thought, okay, I'm going to do this thing called blogging. I had no idea what I was doing at all. I could check my email, and I thought that that was really successful. And so I started this blog. I bought a domain. I actually learned from Amy Lynn Andrews. That's actually how I started. She has a great, just this literally step-by-step, set up your domain, and that's what I did. I published a couple of blog posts, and I saw someone said, now, in order to make money, you have to put ads up on your site and get Google AdSense. So I did. Within a month, Google AdSense sent me a nice little email that said, we are sorry, but you are not able to have ads anymore. You are a cheater and a liar and a horrible person. And I had no idea what I did. I didn't even know. And so I lost my Google AdSense, and I thought, oh great, now I'm in trouble, because isn't this how people make money on blogs, is these AdSense ads, and I don't have them anymore. So about 6 months into the whole gig, I started really working social media. I fell into Pinterest on accident. This was before people were pinning things. And a post went viral via Pinterest, and I thought, yes, I'm in. But, and I got great page views, like 100,000 in that 1 month. And I thought, oh, I am in, I have made it, I am successful. But I had no money. I thought, yeah, people are coming to my site, and I've made nothing, zero, not a thing. So I thought, okay, I need another thing. So I started doing some sponsored posts and some sponsored work, and people were paying me $50 to read their 6,000-page book and write about it. And I thought, yeah, I'm making money. And I have no time to do anything, and I'm going crazy. Anybody there right now? I know some of you are there. You're just like, this sponsored post thing was not working out for me, and I wasn't making hardly anything, and I was putting in hours and hours and hours of work trying to please this person and producing really junk on my site in the process. I also got into Amazon affiliates. I lived in North Carolina at the time, and at first you couldn't do that. And so they opened it up, and I thought, oh, I'm gonna be rich now. And so I put up some Amazon links, and I made like 50 cents. And I thought, yes. No, I'm just kidding. Well, actually, I'm not kidding, but I did have other affiliate links. That really is what I mean. I did join some other affiliate things and some sales and some different things like that, and I started making just a little bit of money. And I thought, okay, I'm making like $100 a month. Great, we can eat like 1 day a week. And I thought, well, 1 day a week, that's not right. 1 meal a day. I thought that's not going to be enough. This is not going to cover it. I need something else. And so I looked around and noticed, okay, if I want people to give me money, I'm probably going to have to give them something. What can I give them? And so I started creating products. And when I did that, I actually started with some prayer cards. My blog is mostly for discipleship of homeschool children and families. And I started with these prayer cards, and I put them out there, and I thought, okay, here we go. We're going to get these. People are going to buy this stuff, and it's going to be great, and I'm charging $2.99 because, that's great, right? Well, I made very little, just a little bit. Because I didn't have a whole lot. So what I had to do then was create more. I thought, okay, well, people can't pay more than $2.99 for these prayer cards, so I'm going to have to create more things and more things and more things. And so I did. I started creating more and more and more, and I have about 31 products. They're all variations of different things, and some of them are different variations of different things. But I started creating like crazy, and I started looking like this guy. I love this cartoon. I thought it was hilarious. He says, just in case you can't read it, he's building his niche site, and then he made $1. He's so happy because he made something, and now he's got to build 900,000 more, And that's how I felt with the products. I'm like, I cannot keep creating products all day long. I can't do this. I have to do something else besides create products. I need to sleep, and I hate coffee. And so I thought, what am I going to do now? Enter sales funnels. So I learned from Amy Porterfield. I heard this podcast of Amy Porterfield. If you've never heard any of her podcasts, really like her. She's very relatable. She's much like my friend Leslie Samuel. She's a great teacher. And I'm always looking for people like that when I listen to them, because if they're really good teachers, even if they're not making millions, which Amy is, but even if she wasn't, I can get more from her than maybe the guy who's making millions but cannot tell me how he did it. And so that's always something I'm looking for. Anyway, Amy told me in this podcast that she had set up this sales funnel and she was making $1,000 a month off of this one sales funnel, off of this one product, and all she did was run this ad on Facebook and didn't do anything else. And I thought, I'll do that. Sign me up. So I said, okay, what in the world is a sales funnel and how am I going to do this thing? So I'm going to give you my formal definition. This is something I created. So a sales funnel is something, as Erin mentioned, that we think is like really scary. We kind of panic. We think, I have no idea how I'm going to do this. This is way over my head. But it's really not that hard. The most important word you need to know is that it's automated. It's something that happens while you're sleeping. It's not something that you're standing there doing every single day. It's automated. And it's just a set of emails on this particular topic that's going to lead your audience and guide them and give them as much value as you can possibly offer them. And the most value, Wes did a great job of helping us to remember that you could possibly offer someone is to sell them your best stuff, to give them your absolute best thing. That is the best value you can give them. And so we're going to do that, but we're going to do it through a sales funnel. That's the idea here. All right. Everybody says that the money is in the list. You ever heard that? I disagree. I'm not the only one, but the money isn't actually in the list. The list is a group of people, a group of names, a whole bunch of characters that mean nothing. The money is actually in the relationship. If you're not nurturing that relationship, you're actually not going to get anywhere. So before I get into the nitty-gritty of what a sales funnel actually is, I'm going to walk through and tell you how to nurture that relationship so that you can actually sell things in your sales funnel. So this is actually can you guys see over me? I know I'm really tall and stuff, it makes it difficult. So this is actually this is October 2014. 2014 was when I started tracking my stats. If you've never done that before, I really recommend that you start doing that now. It's really depressing at the beginning, but write down every single month how many email subscribers you have and who's on Facebook and all of that. Don't stress over it, but it's really great information because you can look back in September of 2016 and say, dude, I'm rocking it. And that's what you want to be able to do. You want to be able to see this growth, whatever it is, and you don't see that if you're just kind of looking at it every day. So anyway, so in October of 2014, I had 5,000 email subscribers, which actually is a lot to start off with. But I had been blogging for 2 years. So that was probably about average for a person blogging. Homeschoolers, they kind of like information. There's not a lot of places to get it. So they tend to subscribe maybe a little bit more frequently than some other niches. And so I had 5,000 subscribers, but I really started focusing on growing that list and getting that list interested in opening my emails. Today, I'm actually transitioning, so I don't know my exact number. Somewhere around 94,000 email subscribers. So it's possible to do this. It's possible to see amazing email growth, but the key is going to be in the relationship. It's not going to be in offering something free, and it's not going to be in just getting something out there and collecting them all, a giveaway, all of those kinds of things. They're not necessarily bad, but if you're not nurturing the relationship, they're going to either unsubscribe or they're just going to be dead weight on your list. Email is a personal, one-to-one connection. So this is the thing that I think so many people miss, and so I want to spend a decent amount of time kind of walking you through this. This is an email, and you can't read it at all. It's actually a little blurry. I apologize. This is an email that someone sent me from my in case we haven't met email. So that's the second email in my cold opt-in, and we'll talk about all of that a little bit later. But they responded to this, they hit reply, and this is what she said. I have to say I actually love this email. I get emails daily from so many blogs, and to be honest, most get deleted because even with the best of intentions, I just don't have time. Now you know that every one of your readers is that person, right? But I loved getting this, getting to know you and your family, and the fact that you actually want to know your readers. That's awesome. And your blog is pretty much the only one I read on a regular basis. Now, how many of you want to get that email tomorrow? Every one of you do. And so the reason, by the way, then she goes on and she tells me all about her family and her husband and her hobbies and all this stuff. I get, I don't know, 40 or so of these every day. I get pictures, I get paragraphs full, I get like 10,000 paragraph essays, and I'm like, man, do you not have anything to do? And as much as I like you, that is like a lot of writing back. And it all comes from this one email, which in the PS says, hey, after I tell them, by the way, the whole email is me telling them who I am. I show them all 4 of my kids. I tell them just a little blurb about my kids in a very real way. I talk about how they, get peanut butter in their hair and all those crazy things that kids do. And then I say at the end, P.S., I want to get to know you too. Hit reply and tell me all about your family. That's it. That's all I do. And they hit reply and they tell me everything. They tell me all of their deep, dark secrets. They tell me, the last week they went to the doctor. I mean, everything. I get to hear it all. Okay. Oh, sorry. Let me see if I can just move this down. Oh, just kidding. All right, we're just going to pretend like we can read it. These are my best tips for how you can nurture your audience. You want to use their name, their first name. So when they opt in, try to get that. And you only want to talk to one person. This is something I did not do initially. I would say, hey friends, because everybody knows I'm emailing a bunch of people, and so I just assumed that that was the best way to do it. That's the worst way to do it. Don't do that. Talk to one person. The best example I have of this is Leslie Samuel, actually, because when he's my business coach, and so when he emails me from his business as a client of his, and then he emails me as a person who's subscribed to his list, every single time I have to go in and say, okay, is this really for me or is this for everybody? Because they're so personal and they're so good that I don't actually know for sure if he's actually talking to me, myself, until I've read half of the email. And so that's what you want your people to think as well. You want them to open it up and think, did she send this to me personally? Because then they're way more likely to open it and to be engaged with you. Don't be a company, be a human. I never say we. I have a team. I have a great team, but I am the brand. And so the emails come from me, and I say, I am so excited to have you here. I am glad you're reading this, whatever. It's from me. It's not from my brand, or it's not from my team. It's not from my whole corporation or anything like that. It's personal. And then, of course, tell personal stories they can relate to. This is actually what I do in email pretty much always. And I cringe when people say, oh, I just send RSS. Okay, well, if you don't want anybody to open your email, keep doing that. But if you would actually like them to open their email and, moreover, buy some things from you, you need to tell them stories. Tell them, I tell them totally random things like what happened in the grocery store sometimes. But I'm always leading them to do something, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. But I want them to do something with the story. I'm not going to just tell a story at random. I want to guide them. I might give them, a Bible passage to read, because that's kind of part of what I do. I might send them to a blog post. I might send them to a video. I never send them directly to a sales page, but some people might. That doesn't really work with my audience, which is another point we'll get to, but that might be something you do. But one point is going to be key there. Okay, and be transparent. So this is actually kind of my secret sauce. The more transparent I am, the more people read, the more they click, the more they respond. When I tell them about how I was, I have a post about how I was writing. I have a Bible study about helping your kids get along, your siblings get with each other. And as I was writing the sales post for that, my kids are killing each other. And there's blood, and 911 was called. No, I'm just kidding. But it felt like that. And I'm seriously, this is going on. And I am writing a post teaching parents how to do this. And you were doing that right now. Haven't you learned anything? No. So I totally used that in my email when I was writing to my readers, and I told them that this was going on. And what happens with that is they say, oh, hello, how are you? It's really cool. What they see in that is that, hey, you know what, I am like that too, and they can really relate to what I'm trying to sell them and what I'm trying to help them with. They realize she doesn't have it all together because I'm never going to have this all together anyway, and I can relate to her reality there. She's probably going to have something to share with me. Okay, the next point is really know your ideal customer avatar. We're going to go into that a little bit, but most people don't really know that, and it's something we kind of throw around. We think, oh yeah, I know, I've got to know my ideal customer avatar, but that's actually really so much deeper of a concept that you need to get into. I took B School. Has anybody in here ever taken B School? Pretty awesome this past year, and that was probably the number one thing I took away from that course. And I thought, oh, at the beginning, you know, I've done this. I've been blogging a long time. I know who I'm talking to. Not until Marie has helped you know who you're talking to do you really know who you're talking to. And we studied so in depth just who that person was, and it changed everything in the way that I was talking to them and able to more relate to them in everything that I send, everything that I write. And so if you haven't really gone through that, I would really know them, really learn and figure out what they need, what they want, and all of that. And then last, protect them from irrelevant ads. That's something that I've learned the hard way. The very hard way, sending things that really don't matter to them, and then they start to just not really want to open your email. And so you want to really think through, okay, do I really want to send this? Is it really worth, you know, $1,000? I have a really big list. I can make a lot of money by selling an ad to my email list. Is it really worth that to do that? I really have to evaluate it every single time. Not saying I never send them, sometimes I do, but they have to be very, very relevant to my readers, or I'm not going to put it in front of them. All right, your rock star tip. Use your PS. You know you have to use your PS. Hopefully, you've all heard that at some point, that using that PS in your email is important, but you want to use it to build your relationship as much as possible. This particular email was actually just one email. Actually, it's a funnel email. It's part of my one of the funnels, and in it, I'm talking about teaching your kids to learn independently, and the title is something like, because you don't want your ninth grader to have to, you don't want to have to button your ninth grader's pants forever, you know? And so I'm hoping they'll open it, and like they're like, what? No, I don't. What do I need to know? And so anyway, but at the bottom, I just put PS, is this a struggle for you? And if it is, hit reply and tell me what your struggles are. That really helps them to do that. It helps them internalize what they're really struggling with, but it gives me incredible information that I can use to meet that need either in a future email or in a product that I'm selling or whatever. And of course, it's giving them, the more they click, you know, in my emails, the better my deliverability rate is going to be, especially to them. So it's really important. Here's an example, and you can't read any of this, but I'm going to point a couple things out. This is this ridiculous email. It's not ridiculous. It's fantastic email that I got. I sent a regular broadcast email to my list that was called what I'm looking forward to, and I was telling them what I'm excited about for the next school year, and which actually was kind of a direct sell because I used several of the products I created because I create them for myself, and so there were things in this email that were directly selling to them, which isn't typically how I do things. And this woman responded back. In the PS, it says, hey, what are you looking forward to this year? Totally open-ended. I didn't say, hey, go buy some stuff. I said, hey, what are you looking forward to this year? She responds back with this book. And in it, this is what's incredible. You can't read it, and so that's kind of sad. But this is an entire paragraph about 3 of my products that she loves. And then she tells me a little bit about her kids, and then she tells me, oh, and I love my brother's keeper, and I recommend it to all my groups online, and I type in not consumed almost every day. And she keeps going and going and going, and she talks about my homeschool course and the pack, and she just printed her notebook, and she just keeps going and going and going, and I'm reading it going, yeah. You know, and then at the very end, she talks about an email series that I did, and she said, you know, I got so much out of the email series, and this was my favorite line of the whole email down here. It says, it was sad when the emails ended because I felt like my friend wasn't there anymore. I thought, oh, yes, that is what I want her to think. I want her to think, oh, this person not only really understands me, but we're friends. Like, we relate to each other. Someone said the other day that they walk around their house saying, Kim said, I thought, well, that's kind of a cool testimony, and I don't really want necessarily that to happen, but it's really cool that they're thinking through these things and they're relating them personally. All right, so this is what you really want to know. If I nurture my email list, will my revenue go up? Well, this was October 14th, or 2014, I keep saying that, and the purple color is email subscribers. So you see, my sales were relationally higher than my number of subscribers, but it wasn't something that was so completely drastic. At this time, I had about 5,000 subscribers, and I was making about $500 a month. And I knew that was actually pretty good. I thought, I'm buying some groceries now. I'm doing some things that I need to be doing. But I'm not going to be able to sustain forever on $500 a month because some of my other monies from support and things are going to go away, and so I have to grow this thing. So it kept growing. In January, it became 20,000 subscribers. By then, I was making $4,000 a month. And I thought, yeah, okay, cool. By June, it was 60,000 subscribers. Wait, 40. Sorry, that was 40. Did I say 40 for the last one? Numbers are not my thing. It was 20,000 here and 4,000. And then 40,000 email subscribers in June, and we went up to $9,000 in income. So you can imagine, as we keep traveling, it just keeps going up and up and up because the number of engaged subscribers are going up. So I can send an email, and like last year, I sent an email because I was redoing my kitchen, and they found mold on the floor. And you like this story. And so they found mold under the floor, and I had not budgeted for that, and I had all these other expenses. I had just moved into this house, and I thought, sweet, this is wonderful. And so I thought, I'm going to send an email, and it was my birthday. And so I sent an email with a cupcake, and I said, it's my birthday. I'm giving you a present. Here's a coupon. And I had never done that ever before. And I more than recuperated the cost of the floor. I made so much money, I thought, dude, I need to do that again. It was so impressive that they just bought this stuff. Why just an email, and again, I don't typically do that to my list. So when it's pretty few and far between, they're jumping on that pretty quickly. All right, so let's get to the nitty-gritty of the sales funnel. The most important thing you need to know is there are different kinds of sales funnels, and I think that's where people get really confused because you get wrapped up in, okay, well, but wait, I have to do this, and I have to do this, and I have to do this, and the answer might be yes to all of that, but you need to organize them into different kinds of funnels. So one kind of funnel would be a response to purchasing a product. That is a funnel. One kind of funnel would be the lead magnet opt-in. And one kind of funnel would be totally cold opting in, like maybe there's just a form on your site and you've not offered them anything and they're just coming in that way. And then the final funnel, and there's definitely more than this, but these are kind of the four main ones that I use. The final one is a follow-up from an event. Now I'm going to briefly talk about, we're going to kind of go back up this way. I'm going to briefly talk about the event. I speak at homeschool conventions. So I didn't do it to you because nobody here really wants to be on my list. I don't really speak and work with bloggers. This is just me loving on you and giving you information. So I didn't have you opt in for anything. But if I had done that, when I speak at homeschool conventions, I do. I offer them the notes for the session and something free that I think they're going to really love. And I've done it through lead digits. I'm now using Entreport to deliver the same thing. But all they have to do is text, and they get the opt-in, and they're then on my list. I send them a very specific follow-up sequence because I've met them in real life, and I want them to be nurtured in a slightly different way than I do my other contacts. So that's what that is all about. Then the cold opt-in is just exactly what I said, the other list. So then the lead magnet opt-in is the one we're going to spend most of our time on. At the very end, I'll show you a little bit about the product one, because most people spend time on the product one, and there's a lot of resources and information out there. But if you don't quite have all of that worked out yet, then you don't really know what to do. And this is actually where I make most of my money anyway, is through the lead magnet one. And that was the hardest one for me to figure out. So that's the one I'm choosing to spend most of the time on today. So this should say step 1. I think it's there. It must be over here. The first thing you have to do, which is kind of backwards from what some people would tell you, is to select a target product. If you don't know what you're trying to sell people, the rest of this is really not going to work. You have to know, what is it I'm going to sell people? These are just a bunch of my products. If you have an idea that you haven't created, that's fine. But you have to have that idea in your head. You have to have a goal. I'm going to sell people, dog training or whatever it is, so that you know who you're going after and all of these other pieces. If you don't actually know what you want to sell them, it's going to be very difficult to put the whole thing into practice. The number one mistake that people make is they create a lead magnet that is unrelated to their product line. I see this all the time, especially in the homeschool niche. They're like, oh, this is a cool freebie. I'm going to put it out there. And they get people to opt in. And guess what people do? Unsubscribe. Why? Because they don't actually care about what you have to say, because you've just given them this thing that has nothing to do with what you're talking about. So for me, an unrelated lead magnet might be something like a printable for your refrigerator for different food that you might cook in your freezer or something like that. Okay, that's a fantastic lead magnet for Aaron Chase. That is a horrible lead magnet for a homeschool blogger who's talking about Bible studies and stuff like that. I mean, it's completely unrelated. And so when they get into my list with a lead magnet like that, you'd be like, I don't care about Bible studies, unsubscribe, they just don't want to be there. So start from the beginning, not going after the wrong people. You want to stay with the right people to begin with. So step 2, know your unique audience. I wish I could spend a lot of time talking about this, but it really is like another 6-day seminar probably. But I'll tell you what happens if you make the mistake. So this is mistake number 2, and I've made it 100 times or more, doing what the Joneses are doing. So I did a product launch a little while ago, and I sent 3 emails in the sequence of basically a little over a 24-hour period of time. You've seen marketers do this. All the big guys, this is what they do, right? They send an email, they send another email, they send another email. It's going to close. If you don't buy this now, the world's going to explode. No, but you get the idea. And they send several of them because they don't want you to miss it. Okay, so we tried it. I lost 1,000 subscribers in 24 hours. I was like, oh, this is a very costly mistake. Because my people are like, you are selling too hard to me. Stop that. They don't like that. Now, that probably works for Pat Flynn or somebody else. I just named him randomly, but I don't know that he does that. It probably works for lots of other people. They're making millions of dollars doing that, but it might not work for you. So be very, very careful about just doing whatever somebody else is doing because it works for them. Another thing that I see people do a lot is the time of day that they send emails. I send emails Sunday at 8:00 p.m. Do not do that unless your readers are going to open it. If you are blogging to business people, they are not going to open it Sunday at 8 p.m. and you've just lost all of what you're doing. But for me, that's when my people are thinking about the next week. That's when they're thinking about getting their homeschool ready. That is when my highest open rate comes. So that's when I usually will send it. I have a couple of other times that work well for me too, but you have to experiment with this. Use what other people are telling you is wise. Try some things. That's why we tried the 3 emails in 24 hours, and these things hurt sometimes. But fortunately, it wasn't money. But see, to me, money, subscribers are money. So anyway, it was very painful. Leslie and I cried for a couple hours. No, just kidding. It wasn't quite like that. He cried a lot, but I wasn't so bad. Okay, step number 3 is surveying your audience. This is another thing that you have to do a lot of research on and spend some time doing. This doesn't just mean send out a little survey monkey that says, hey, how old are you and what do you like to do? That's useless. It might be somewhat helpful information, but a lot of the stuff we ask is useless information. If you haven't read it, the book Ask by Ryan Levesque, which is Levesque, is a fantastic resource for this. He helps you guide, he really will guide you through what are you going to ask your people, what do you need to know versus what's just completely irrelevant information that you're asking them. And then that will help you as you funnel things down and start dividing up your audience and things. All right, step 4. This is when you're going to divide your audience. And I'm going to get really specific on this part for you because to me this is the hardest part. And there are very few resources on this. So once you get some information about your audience, you know who you're talking to, you kind of have an idea what you're going to sell them or you have something to sell them. You're going to need to divide them into not but buckets. And imagine pretty fancy writing. This is the technical term that I believe Ryan created, but you see it used a lot now in various places. And it's just a fancy word for groups. You're going to divide your people into groups. Now, the mistake that I initially made with this, here's your rockstar tip, was I didn't divide them by what I needed to know. I divided them by what made sense to me. So I took my audience and I divided them into categories that actually made sense and that were relevant. And do you mind if I use you as an example, Allie? So yesterday, Allie and I were talking about this, and as she's getting ready to start a funnel, because we're going to do that totally, there are some options for the way that she might work things. She might go in and ask people, what types of places are you planning on visiting in St. Augustine? She blogs about St. Augustine, visiting that area. You might ask them that, and you might funnel your people based on that. However, that's not going to work for her because the products that she has to sell and that she's going to have to sell that doesn't matter. That's completely irrelevant information for her. So you want to figure out what you absolutely need to know about the readers and then funnel them that way. So for her, it's going to be that she's going to find out when they're coming because the kinds of information she's going to send them might be different if they're coming tomorrow and they're just researching because they're last minute people, or if they're planning for their 20th anniversary in 3 years. So there are different kinds of people, and the content she was going to want to send is going to vary based on that. So that makes the most sense for her. Now I have a few practical examples for you. This is my daughter's site. She's 12, and we have just started this site for homeschool horse lovers that are homeschooling. And I'm sharing this because it's just so easy to understand the format. So she has an opt-in. It's 1001 horse books, and it's just a giant list of things that people can read if they love horses. And this is a really popular thing for girls this age. It's hard to find great books. So they opt in for that. And then she divides them into age brackets. And the reason she's going to do this is because she needs to know, are they interested in elementary type products? Are they high schoolers looking for hardcore curriculum? Or are they just looking for supplements because they're more elementary age? And so we had divided them up by ages. On my site, I also speak to homeschoolers. I don't divide mine up into ages. You're going to see my whole big crazy thing later. By the way, you're so welcome to take pictures of this because you're not going to remember it all later. So please feel free to do that. All right, this is Marianne. Is Marianne in here? Marianne Sunderland. She has a blog called Homeschooling with Dyslexia. And I worked with her last fall to set up her funnels. And so what she did was she has kind of 3 different places where people might be on the spectrum of dyslexia. It's my child is showing signs, and then, okay, I know my child is dyslexic, but where do I begin? What do I do? And then the third one was, okay, I've worked with this child who's dyslexic. I know a little bit, but I need a lot of tips. I'm interested in furthering, making better strategies for what we're currently doing. And so then she kind of has a label behind the scenes. These are the newbies. Those are the people in the next step. And then the last is the steps to independence. And then she can start sending emails accordingly. But most importantly, she knows, okay, these people need me to help them diagnose and equip. So she's going to send them resources for testing. She's going to send them her beginner assessment type things that she sells. Then in the next category, they need confidence, they need strategies. She's going to be sending them maybe her basic 101 course. This is how we begin this process. You know what you're doing. You know that this is what's going on, so here's how I can help you. And then the final one, she's going to help them with maybe that older curriculum because now they're high schoolers and things are a little bit harder and it was a little bit easier earlier. You see where we're going with all of this? You can literally take any concept and put it into various buckets of information that needs to be given. But what you have to remember is it needs to be the information that you're going to eventually sell at the end. Okay. So we're going to go back to mine, I promise. I don't want you to panic. Step 5 is to create a lead magnet. Once you've put all your people into the bucket, then you can go ahead and create your lead magnet. These are just 2 of mine. I actually have a ton of lead magnets because I didn't do things right originally, and so I've given away so much stuff. But that actually really does work well for my audience because they love free printables. A great lead magnet is very specific. It's a logical lead into your products. This was, again, one of my big mistakes that I made, was I had lots of great lead-ins or lead magnets, but none of them actually were the kind of leading them to buy my stuff. It wasn't like the next step. It didn't really make sense for them. It solves a problem. So this is just like when you're writing a product, that's what you want to do. You want to solve a problem. Well, your lead magnet wants to do the same exact thing. But often it's best if this lead magnet actually solves a problem or an objection that's going to keep them from buying your product, if there's anything like that. The only way you're going to know that is to know your audience really, 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 really well. So we're going back to that. Ryan and actually Marie Forleo both have a whole big series where they talk about actually getting on the phone with people who are in your audience and actually talking through to them what are the things that are going to keep them from buying your things. You need to know that. Get on the phone and start talking to them and asking them. And then finally, it's so amazing, it hurts not to charge for it. We put together all of our homeschool opt-ins into one big opt-in here. It is 75 pages of printables, and it's basically a guidebook for homeschool, is how it ended up turning out when it got done. And I thought, dude, I could charge like $50 for this. And it was really hard to put it up. Once I finished it, I thought, oh, I want to charge for it. I went, no, I'm not going to do that. But that's the feeling that you want to have, because if you have that feeling, then they are not going to be able to resist the opt-in. They're going to say, I really need this in order to do the next things. And I have to remember that I am giving this information for free, but I have so many things for them to purchase that are an excellent follow-up for that. And that's what they're going to do once they see how great this is. And if you give them just this one-page PDF, which might work really well, so I don't want to say that's really bad, but if you're giving them one little PDF that's just not really that great and doesn't really provide that much value, what do you think is the likelihood of them actually purchasing from you later? Maybe, they might. You might actually have great copy later and they'll say, okay, I want to do it. But you also might not get the sale because they think, well, that really wasn't that great, so I don't really need it. Okay, we talked about that. So this is something I learned from Marie Forleo, and I wanted to throw this in here. This is Convertkit. For any of you who don't have it, don't recognize it. I wanted to show you this because you'll notice these tiny little stubs of subscribers. This is daily, how they record. That's one thing that's really cool about Convertkit is they have really pretty things to show you, and this is one of them. So you go in and you're like, oh, but it's not so pretty when you see that. And you're like, oh, wait, what happened here? I have all those great things. But here's what you need to remember. When you are getting email subscribers, you have marathons and you have sprints. And so when you're having your marathon, here's my marathon, right? This is not shabby. This is like 250 opt-ins a day. But it looks really pathetic against that. And sometimes that's what we do. We measure ourselves against the big stuff, and that's not cool because this is actually really good. I like this. I'm happy. I'm very happy with 250 new people every day. I mean, come on, that's great. But I could easily get distracted by looking, well, that day I had 1,000. What was wrong with me this day? That's just silly. So a marathon would be something, would be your everyday, your regular opt-ins, your things that are on your site that maybe you have some regular money into Facebook ads. on that or whatever, but it's something that's being done across the board. Your sprint is going to be like concentrated growth. That might be a giveaway. It might be a contest or an email challenge. Like this was actually when we put together the new opt-in, and we put it out there, and people went nuts, and they're like, whoa, what is this? And so it kind of created this frenzy of fun times. And then I switched email providers, which we'll talk about later. So that's why I didn't get to show you any more of that. It stopped and moved to another email provider. But most important thing I want you to get out of this and remember as you're getting this together is that there are times when it's going to be really good and times when it's not going to be so good. And it's the consistency that's actually going to get there, because the marathon runners can still win the race and still do really well over time. All right, step 6, you're going to write your actual emails for your funnel sequence. You're going to map this out, and I'm going to show you how to do that here in just a second. The most common mistake people make here is making your reader think too hard. A lot of people will tell you should only have one call to action in an email. I have come to the place from a very far place of, in my niche, a lot of people will send an email that has 16 things to click on with all kinds of pretty pictures. And it was very hard for me to break free from that, because I thought, oh no, I need to do that because that's what people are expecting. They want options. They want to see all of my posts right there in front of them. No, they don't. They see that and they think, I don't know what to read. Delete, and they go on, We don't want them to think very hard. We want them to open the email and know, oh, she wants me to go read this post about the first day of school, the end. And then they choose, oh, I don't really care about that. We're not going back to school for 2 more weeks, and I'm going to enjoy the summer, delete. Or, oh, I really need to know that, and they read it. But you've given them an option that is very, very straightforward instead of giving them the world. And like I said, typically they just won't make a pick. So here's my funnel. Don't be scared. It's not as complicated as it looks, I promise. All right, so at the very top, you see there is an opt-in. That is and I just put this one that we talked about today, but there's plenty. So they come to my site, they opt in on a box, wherever that may be, or somewhere else, but they've opted in, and they've opted in for this one specific thing. I send them an email immediately, and the email delivers the one thing, and it's just a welcome. It says, welcome to the community. I'm so glad you're here. I'm praying this blesses your family, this great free thing that I'm giving you. It's so wonderful, la la la, whatever. And I give them and so I give them the lead magnet. That's all that's in there. They just click on the link and they download it, and it's over. I don't do anything else with them at that point. Then I send them email number 2, which is the very next day. And in that email, it's in case we haven't met. And that's the email we talked about before. It's my whole family. I just give I give little snippets about who they are and try to get them to relate to who we are, because I know so much about my audience that I know kind of what they're experiencing. So I pull those things into my kids' stories, because I could talk about my kids for like 6 years and probably never finish all the funny things or cute things or crazy things. But I want to focus on what I know other people are probably struggling with. And again, the only thing I want them to do in that email is reply to me. I really do want them to reply, and I really do read it, and I really do reply to all of those people. And I wish I had time to tell you how I do that, but I don't. So catch me later, and I will. Then the next thing that I send them is an email. The title of the email is, "Can I ask you a question?" And I literally do. I talk to them a little bit about who I am, and then I say, I have this question for you. And the reason I'm asking you this question is because I have a lot of great content on this blog, and I have a lot of great things that are behind the scenes, and I want to share them with you. But you can't possibly consume it all. You don't have enough time. So if you answer this question for me, I can help you and navigate you to the best stuff for you right where you are right now. And then I put them into categories. Since most of my readers are homeschoolers, that's where the bulk of them are. They're brand new considering, they're elementary and under, they have both elementary and upper, or they're just middle schoolers and older. And then I have this other blanket category of I don't homeschool. Yes, I am leaving people out. It's okay. I'm not trying to service the world. I just want to help these people. And so if they need help with some other things like cooking, they need to go to Aaron's site or wherever. Like I cannot please that. So I'm just going to focus on what I can. Then once they have answered a question, it is linked in the email. When they click, I send them to a landing page. And on the landing page, I give them a coupon for my store. At the very bottom, I give them 3 awesome posts that relate to that topic. And then I say, I am so glad you're here, and I want to give you a gift. And I say it much better than that, but here's your gift. And it's just a coupon for anything they want in the store. That gets used like about 50% of the time. When someone lands on the page, they use it a lot. And it's actually at the very bottom of the page, because I don't want that to be the thing they come and see. But that is kind of their bonus. Then, so they get into a different funnel depending on what they are. And then these things down here are actually the products that I have to sell them in that group. So when you're laying this out, what you need to do is not just know, okay, here's what I need to know about them, and here's really the information that I'm going to give them. I wish I could have given you all the information I'm giving them just so you could see it, but there only so much can fit on a slide. And then these are the things that I want to sell to them. And it could be like some of these might have some affiliate links in there. They're really, really great affiliate things that I can sell them. But a lot of them are actually my things. And they're different depending on what they've clicked on. Okay, and then the last step is you're going to review and tweak often. You can't just set this thing and let it go. You have to see, oh, well, this email is really tanking. Do I need to change the title? Do I need to, what do I need to do to kind of make this a little bit different? And then I'm going to let you take a picture of this. Or maybe I can really send you the notes. Yeah, we could do that too. This is my product sales funnel. I told you I really wasn't going to talk about it, but I did want to show it to you. And there are a couple things in here that are super awesome. If I just have a couple minutes, or am I pretty much done? I'm done. All right. So I'll finish this, and sorry that we couldn't quite finish. But do catch me after anytime. I'd be happy to answer questions for you and help you think. I love thinking through funnels, so I would love to help you think through your funnel because it's just fun for me. And so thanks.